The obsession with immigration as the source of all social decline is one of the great political distractions of modern capitalism. It channels frustration away from systems of domination and toward people who are themselves trapped within those systems. The ruling order thrives when ordinary people fear one another more than they fear the institutions that exploit them all. We should reject sacred abstractions. Nation, race, citizenship, patriotism, the economy, and even society itself are not eternal truths, but constructs used to organize obedience. Such abstractions are spooks, ideas that dominate individuals by convincing them to subordinate their own interests and autonomy to something supposedly higher. Nationalism is one of the most powerful of these spooks. It persuades workers to identify not with themselves or with others exploited alongside them, but with a national identity tied to the interests of the state and capital. Under this logic, a struggling worker is encouraged to believe that the immigrant is the cause of his insecurity, while landlords raise rents, corporations suppress wages, and billionaires accumulate wealth at historic levels. But who profits from this hostility? Capitalism depends upon division. Bosses benefit when workers compete against one another for jobs, housing, and survival. A divided working population is easier to discipline and less capable of genuine collective resistance. Immigration becomes politically useful when it creates a visible target onto which social anxieties can be projected. Instead of questioning wage labour itself, for example, people are taught to blame the foreigner willing to work under desperate conditions. But migrants do not create exploitation. Exploitation is already embedded in capitalism. The capitalist relation is fundamentally coercive. Most people must sell their labour in order to survive, while a small class owns the resources necessary for life. Whether the worker was born locally or arrived yesterday changes little about this underlying condition. Both remain dependent on wages, both remain vulnerable to unemployment, inflation, debt, and precarity. Both exist beneath structures they do not control. The immigrant is often among the most exploited people within capitalism precisely because of their vulnerability. Their insecurity benefits bosses, undocumented workers, temporary migrants, and economically desperate newcomers can be paid less, threatened more easily, and denied protections. Capital does not fear migration, it frequently relies upon it. This is why anti-immigrant politics so often coexist with pro-corporate economics. Politicians may denounce migrants in speeches while supporting deregulation, privatisation, and austerity policies that intensify economic insecurity for everyone. The spectacle of border panic conceals the ongoing transfer of wealth upward. We should reject the false choice between nationalism and liberal moralism. Nationalists sanctify the nation state and demand loyalty to borders. Liberals often sanctify abstract humanitarian ideals while ignoring the economic structures generating displacement in the first place. We should accept neither sacred duty nor patriotic obedience. Instead, we need to examine concrete relations of power. Why do people migrate at all? Often because capitalism destabilizes entire regions through imperialist wars, trade dependency, resource extraction, climate destruction, and global inequality. The same economic order that impoverishes workers domestically also uproots populations internationally. Migration is not external to capitalism, it is one of its consequences. We therefore see the immigration debate as a symptom rather than a cause. Housing crises emerge from speculative property markets and landlordism. Wage stagnation emerges from the concentration of corporate power and the weakening of resistance or class struggle. Social atomization emerges from a system that commodifies every aspect of life and dissolves genuine community into transactional relationships. Remove immigration tomorrow, and capitalism would still produce hierarchy, alienation, and precarity. Landlords would still seek profit, corporations would still cut costs, investors would still speculate on necessities. The state would still protect property before people. The machinery would remain intact. What changes under anti-immigrant politics is merely the target of resentment. We oppose this manipulation because it reduces individuals into instruments of collective identity. The worker is told to sacrifice his own real interests for the spook of the nation. He is encouraged to identify with ruling elites who share his passport but not his material conditions. In practice, nationalism asks ordinary people to defend systems that impoverish them. We should reject this sacrifice and recognize that no flag, border, or abstraction deserves obedience simply because it has been declared sacred. Human relations should emerge voluntarily from mutual interest, not coercive myths enforced by states and markets. And we should insist on tracing scarcity back to its source. Under capitalism, scarcity is often artificial. Homes sit empty while people are homeless, food is destroyed while people starve, and productivity increases while workers become more insecure. The issue is not the presence of newcomers, but the organisation of things around profit and ownership. The capitalist system survives by keeping people fragmented and suspicious of one another. Native-born workers are encouraged to fear immigrants, citizens are encouraged to fear refugees, the poor are encouraged to fear the poorer. Meanwhile, those who own capital move wealth, labour and production across borders freely whenever it's profitable. The contradiction is obvious. Capital itself is global, but ordinary people are told to hate each other for crossing borders in search of a better life. We should therefore reject nationalist scapegoating while also refusing sentimental illusions about the state or capitalism. We should seek neither stronger borders nor stronger markets, but liberation from systems that subordinate individuals to property, profit, and political abstractions. The immigrant is not the architect of exploitation. The landlord, the corporation, the financier, and the state apparatus sustaining capitalist domination are far closer to the root cause. Capitalism creates insecurity, then nationalism assigns blame. We need to refuse both the insecurity and the lie.